I don't think Santa wants this information out. Okay. I guess we try it. Maybe I shouldn't touch any buttons. I hope this goes. It just won't last, I don't think, but maybe I should have faith. All right, well, that's one of the better starts we've had. Not, you know what? Thank you for the offer there, Brother Mitchell. It's not the mic, and we figured that out because I just had a brand new one sent to me. This microphone is brand new. So apparently, it's something else. It's like probably my computer, which would really be a bummer because that would be an expensive change. So what we're going to do is we are going to talk. And then if I can't talk, we're going to fumble through it for a little bit, okay? We'll go through and unplug it, plug it in, hit some buttons and see what can happen, right? And God willing, we can get through this. Could be. I don't know. Mitchell, but it's okay. You guys know that we've been fighting technology a little bit, right? This endeavor is like fight TikTok, fight YouTube, fight my microphone, fight the new microphone, fight whatever. Whatever. Anything that's worth doing is going to be a fight, right? Okay. I was going to stall for about 10 minutes anyway, so that was just a kind of exciting way to do it. And we'll see. God willing, we can keep the stream going. So we had the patron meeting last night, and I brought up a topic, which is something that as a conspiracy theorist and as a Christian content creator, conspiracy theorist, the holidays are really low-hanging fruit for picking apart and looking at critically, okay? Christmas and Easter being the two biggest ones. And before I actually came out with this, did all the research today, I talked to the Brain Trust. I talked to the VOR family. And, unsurprisingly, there's mixed sentiment about what we should be doing as Christians as it relates to Christmas. So before we get going, if you don't have to divulge too much, but everybody in the room, do you feel pretty aware of the pagan roots of Christmas? And do you have a way to justify or have peace about celebrating Christmas still? And so you don't have to elaborate too much, but I'm just kind of curious the waters I'm about to swim into here, how everybody feels about it. So if you can give me some feedback on what you think about celebrating Christmas. And again, if you're uncomfortable with that because of how, you don't want to be judged or you don't want to share it, you don't have to, but I'm just curious. Kev says, I know mild amounts about the real Christmas stuff. That's what we should call this, real Christmas today. Okay. Can't say that, Rich. I can't say that. So I don't know if particularly to the group of people in here, the amazing people in here, I have to explain myself, but because the intention is to get this out to a lot of people, let me start by saying that I'm not here to judge anybody. I think you guys know that. I fear God. I'm a sinner. I don't claim to be a pastor. I don't claim to be righteous or some man of God, like thus saith the Lord, man of God, right? I'm a guy who, through a really eclectic, traumatic, intense life experience, has developed a worldview that is unorthodox, to say the least. Controversial is probably a fair summation. I've kind of kidded around with people when I used to have these discussions back in Denver. I would say I'm either right about everything or totally crazy, and both options are on the board. As I've done this now for 6 months, I'm more of the mindset that I'm either right about everything, wrong about everything, or somewhere in the middle. And I think we all probably know which of those options would most accurately explain my worldview. Now, I'm very, very sold out, very galvanized in my worldview. You guys know that I've done a ton of research. I have a brain that can parcel out all these little pieces of information through my life experience, and then, aggregate it together and build a kind of cohesive thought, train of thought. But it's also very it's very anti-establishment, and I'm anti-establishment with government, medical, religion, a lot of these different kind of things. And I would like to think that the only real allegiance I have is to God of the Bible. That's my goal, and then obviously my family as well. But I don't mind being saucy, salty, controversial, and because of that, I can certainly be wrong. So what I would ask you to do is take this information to God, right? Process it, pray about it. Don't feel convicted. I'm not trying to convict anyone. I'm kind of trying to convict the pagan Luciferian system because I'm in war with it. I'm at war with it. And I wrote on the top of this, if you guys don't know my mission statement, Chloe's in my mission statement, it's defend the creator, defend the constructor, defend the creator in the information war. So that's what I'm going to be doing right now. I'm going to defend the creator. I'm going to use scripture. I'm going to use conspiracy. It's going to be a little bit heavy here, but again, I watched a couple other, at the advice of a couple people that I trust. I looked at a couple other content creators' information on this, and it's just always, I'm right, you're wrong. I'm right, you're wrong. And my goal here really is to look at the information and let you make a decision. Okay, so at the I wrote some call to action items, but I can't sit here and tell you burn down your tree, return all your gifts, things like that. That's not how I feel. That's between you and God. So thank you guys for being here. I'm excited to be back on, and God willing, this microphone will hold. Okay. What is Christmas? It's a silly thing to ask because we all know what Christmas is, but really, like, how would you define Christmas? What is it, right? It's in the winter, you got Santa Claus, you got Christmas trees and wreaths and lights and Christmas music and holiday music and all these kind of things. But the name is Christ Mass, right? That idea is the Mass, which is Catholic, in celebrating Christ or memorializing Christ, and the premise is that it's his birthday, right? It's Jesus's birthday. That's what Christmas is. And why do we celebrate it? Like, why do we celebrate Christmas? Does the Bible say to celebrate Christmas? You guys have a single scripture that's like, thou shalt celebrate Christmas, bring gifts to people, tree and stuff? Does anybody have any scriptural backing of this? We'll start with that. Like, what does the Bible say? Should you do Christmas? And then when, right? We're going to look at this forensically. What is it? Why do we do it? When is it? Because these are all important questions. Let's start with when is Christmas? Christmas is December 25th. Christmas coincides with a pagan holiday known as winter solstice. It's had many names, and we're going to get into that as we go into it. But why does anybody celebrate the birth of Jesus on December 25th? Does anybody think that's when Jesus was born? Is that because, I mean, we've had these discussions. We believe Jesus is a real historical figure. When was Jesus born? And this is what we're going to start with. This is a teacher many of you know. His name is Michael Heiser. He's a little dry. This is a terrible recording. It's 7 minutes long. Do you guys want to hear all 7 minutes of it? He's going to break down when Jesus' birthday actually was. And that's going to start off a whole other conspiracy. So do you guys want to hear the 7-minute Mike Heiser thing, or do you want to hear just like the 2-minute end point of it? What would you guys like to hear? I'll pull this up while you get an answer. I mean, if you like Mike Heiser, you're gonna like the information. It has to do what we're going to be looking at here is the cosmology. This is the cosmology of Jesus's birthday. Okay, many of you don't know this. Astrology is the study of, it's interpreting the configuration of the stars and attributing a story to it. Okay, people always go, "Oh, the Bible came in later. What did they do? How do they know the Bible?" The story of the Bible is in the stars. Okay, the very first astrologists were Adam and Eve and Noah and these people. It tells the story of the salvation of God's people. The virgin, the lion. This whole thing is the gospel account. So there's this amazing prophecy in Revelation 12, which we've talked before about how the Bible is, was, and will be, or was, is, and will be. It exists in multiple time frames. It's exclusive of time space, right? So the Revelation 12 prophecy actually tells the exact stellar alignment of when the Messiah would be born. And for those of you that don't know the date, get ready. This is Christmas and conspiracy. So we'll go ahead and play the whole thing. And yeah, enjoy. Mike Heiser is awesome. He's a guy, he's no frills. I think he's an old earth guy. He's a biblical literalist, but he's no guff. He's not some conspiracy guy. And all the sources I'm going to give you tonight, I'm not going to show you like, oh, crazy end of time, Babylon rising, wild conspiracy website. Like, obviously that's where I would want to go, but I don't go there. A lot of that to me is unfounded and unresearched. We're going to go to source. We're going to look at the pagan religions. We're going to look at, guys like Mike Heiser. These are the intellectuals. These are the people that I know we can trust because they're not sensationalist. Okay. Mike Heiser talking about when Jesus was born.
What you're looking at here is an image from some astronomy software that I have. This red line right here is the ecliptic. That's an imaginary line that astronomers use, and it marks the path of the constellations of the zodiac. Obviously we have sun and moon here along the ecliptic in this illustration. Here's an illustration of the, again, familiar constellations, how they follow the ecliptic right here. Now what we have here, and again this is part of a lecture I do in Revelation 12, is the constellation Virgo, the Virgin. If you go back and read Revelation 12, it is very obviously about the virgin birth, the birth of Jesus, the Messiah. But the signs and symbols that are used in Revelation 12 are well-known astronomical symbols. The constellation Virgo is the only one that represents a woman. For 20 days, Virgo is clothed with the sun. That's an astronomical term that means the sun appears in the constellation. That language comes from Revelation 12. But in Revelation 12, we not only have the sun clothing the woman, or inside the woman, we have the moon at her feet. The important note here is that for 20 days, Virgo gets clothed with the sun. But the exact day when the moon is under her feet can occur only during an 80-minute window within that span of days. So both of these signs, the sun in Virgo and the moon at her feet, are important. And the sun is about midway in her midsection. Again, there's symbology there as far as a pregnancy. If you actually looked up the constellation Virgo in Norton's star atlas, and I'm sure other atlases, there would be 12 visible stars around her head. Again, this is all well-known ancient world symbology and astronomical, observable astronomy. If we look at the alignment of constellations, here's Virgo in the middle. I've taken the pictures out and just done the line drawings. Sun in the midst of Virgo, moon at her feet right here. Above Virgo's head is Leo, of course the lion symbology, the Lion of Judah. Within Jupiter, at the very same time that Virgo is clothed with the sun and the moon is at her feet, we have a conjunction between Regulus and Jupiter. Jupiter is known as the king star in ancient astronomy. It's because it's the biggest one. Regulus, of course, if you know Latin, you know that's terminology for the king. That is the king star. So we have the king planet, Jupiter, and the king star, Regulus, in conjunction. If you did any reading on, like out of Martin's book or some other sources, this is very important symbology for a royal birth. It's known all through the ancient world. It just so happens that in this situation, we have this simultaneous conjunction in the constellation Leo, again, which was in Jewish astronomy and Jewish astrology, and that was practiced for many centuries. We have we have the sign of a royal birth in the tribe of Judah, which is obviously messianic. And by the way, the whole thing about Jewish astrology, there have been a number of zodiac mosaics uncovered in Jewish synagogues in Palestine in the early centuries, the early church. Their whole dissertations written on this subject, Jewish and Christian attitudes toward the stars. There is an orthodox astronomy, an orthodox astrology, if you want to call it that. In the ancient world, astronomy and astrology are pretty blurred, and there are obvious non-orthodox or pagan systems as well.
All right, quick timeout. This is really important. I think we have a tendency as people raised in the education system to think that the ancient civilizations were stupid, right? Or they didn't get it. They didn't know what they were doing. They weren't brilliant. They weren't really aware of the universe and these kind of things. It's just kind of the idea, like, they're stupid. No, they weren't stupid. And the wise men were very wise. And they were very aware of all of this. And with Mike Heiser talking about the astrology back then was synonymous with astronomy, it's because it was later, it was as the devil started like repurposing the information and seeing the power in it, that it became this weird fallen angel kind of occult information. So, but at the beginning, they all knew to look for these things, and that God was talking through the stars, and that the stars were a timepiece, and they were telling prophecies and stories. So it's really cool to have a guy really dry, but to really go into this is super important.
Below here, below the woman, okay, we have the sun in Virgo and the Virgin, moon at her feet. In modern zodiac, we have here Scorpio and then Libra, the scales. In the ancient world, these were combined. If you can conceive of this in your imagination, here's the tail of Scorpio, and then Libra was thought to be the claws that were joined right here. So this entire set of what are now two constellations were in the ancient world viewed as one, and it was known as the dragon. Again, that's right out of Revelation 12. Here's a superimposed picture over it. Now we have Scorpio and Libra, the scales, but in the ancient times this was one known as the dragon. There's another candidate for the dragon in Revelation 12 on the other side of the ecliptic. We have Hydra right here, but I tend to think that what John is describing is the ancient dragon constellation right here, Scorpio and Libra combined in today's terminology. Now, the important thing about this is that in Revelation 12, all of these signs can occur, again, in only an 80-minute window of each other.
80 minutes.
So to account for all the signs in Revelation 12 during not just one calendar year, but during a whole series of astronomical periods and ages, you have a very small window of time where all of these things can be present at the same time, where everything is accounted for. The birth of the child in Revelation 12, as I have a note up here, again, whom John identified with Jesus, occurring while the sun was clothing the woman, the king star, king planet in Leo, again, Jupiter, or not Jupiter, but the sign for the tribe of Judah. All of these things did occur in a year that fits well for Jesus' birth, and that is 3 BC. What I've just laid out for you is common knowledge in many planetaria throughout the country and in Europe, that this is one of the candidates for the birth of Christ. It's the only birth year that accounts for all of these symbols. So if you read in the academic literature about candidates for the birth of Christ, they range anywhere from 2 BC to 6 BC. But none of the scholarly literature that I've seen considers Revelation 12, and I think that's the missing element. The real sort of interesting thing about 3 BC is since this concatenation of signs can only occur in an 80-minute window, we know exactly the date of the birth of the Messiah in 3 BC, and that date is September 11th, which, again, this kind of spooks people. September 11th, 3 BC is...
That's it. That's the date. Now, I know that DJ PJ just said that the date there, it also happened in, what was it, 2017, and he's an end-time researcher, and I would love for him to go into that at some point. But this is recognized by a lot of people that it's entirely possible that Yeshua was born on September 11th, 3 BC. Okay. There's 365 days in a year. So it's not December 25th. It's 9/11. And there's other consistencies that point to this. And I did the research earlier. I should have pulled it up. But basically, they know it wasn't in the winter. They think it was in the fall. There's a really cool comparison of when John the Baptist was born. And they know when he was born because of Zechariah and what he did in the temple. And Jesus was, I think, 3 months after John the Baptist. So they like 3 or 6, but they're really confident with September 3rd or September 11th of 3 BC looks to be the day of Yeshua. So we're talking about Christmas and the likely date. What we know when he wasn't born, and we know he wasn't born on December 25th. And it's entirely possible he was born on 9/11. Okay. So now we look at 9/11 and what the elites did on 9/11. That date is synonymous with terror now. That date is just trepidatious. It's dark. There's a huge sacrifice. If you were to like ask people, what's like the worst date in your mind of the year you could think of, a lot of people are going to say 9/11. So did the elites do this on 9/11? Did they do the 9/11 sacrifice satanic ritual on 9/11 to bring shame and to bring fear and terror to the birth of Yeshua? Is it possible that what people are celebrating as the birth of Jesus that's happening on winter solstice actually happened on 9/11 when people are like the most traumatized? Yes, we're in upside down clown town world. We know that. Up is down is up, love is evil, evil is good, good is evil. Like everything's backwards, right? So what classic? It's not December 25th. 9/11. And there's other sources too. And DJ PJ, you can definitely clear that up on Discord. So I've covered this on other shows, but how did we get to December 25th? And again, my goal here is to detail all of the information and let you make a decision. But how did we get to December 25th? Why is this the agreed upon day for Christmas, December 25th? And it's a very simple thing. We've talked about it before, and it is when Rome married Christianity. Here's another Jesus born 9/11 on the Feast of Trumpets during the constellation Virgo at a like specific time. I think we very much have confidence that that's a very viable date. Okay. So I've covered this before, talking about Easter, the influence of Constantine. Here's how we got to December 25th, and we're gonna go deeper on this in a second, but just to get an idea, when Constantine became emperor of Rome, he nominally at least became a Christian, but being the head of a far-flung political empire, he was concerned about the unity and coherence and stability of his empire. As a politician, he sought to reconcile and blend and mesh pagan practices with Christian beliefs to merge paganism with the Roman Church. Constantine promulgated the Edict of Toleration in 313, became emperor in 323, and then Christianity was enthroned. From this time, the next 200 years, all persecutions of Christians of the Roman Church and its adherents ceased. The sword of persecution was not merely sheathed, it was buried, but people have lamented this, making the state religion. It ends up being used. So basically, what you have to know here, oh, I don't know if I shared the right page. Did I share the right page? It's been a little while since I've been doing this. Oh, I did. Cool. What you have to think about here, and I've said this before a lot, is you come into this world and you don't have a worldview, and you are given a worldview. You're indoctrinated. You're programmed. You're programmed to be a consumer and a good student and a good worker and a good tank stopper, tank fodder. And part of what has happened is the entire lexicon of the pagan belief system was adopted, and they took all of the practices and names of their holidays and the names of their gods, and they just changed them to Christian names, right? Semiramis, the Queen of Heaven, is now Mary. And you can go down the list with all the different gods and demigods and all these different kind of things. So winter solstice is a huge deal to the pagans. It's a huge deal to the pagans. It's their sun worship ceremony. It's the way, like, if you think of all these North, especially like where all of the Druid pagan, Germanic stuff came from, winters are tough. And like, how are you going to get through winter? You have like a big celebration in the middle of the winter and everybody's really excited about it. Well, they chose the winter solstice is the shortest day of the year, the darkest day of the year. There's another inversion, right? If Jesus' birthday is supposed to be celebrated, they choose the darkest, the day of the year that has the least amount of sunlight. And they just took this pagan system, terraformed it as Christianity, and indoctrinated civilization with it. And it's the kind of thing that if you go, hey, I'm not going to do Christmas, people are like, you got to do Christmas. Like, it's Jesus. It's about Jesus. It's magic. The magic of Jesus. It's Jesus' magic holiday, right? Does anybody dispute that the reason that winter solstice is celebrated is because it's a pagan festival and that we are kind of superimposing Christianity on top of it to make it palatable, right? Politically, even. Okay, well, if you question that, here we go. This is where it gets fun. And again, if you do Christmas, that's your deal. That's between you and God. I'm just giving you the information. That's my whole thing. Not trying to sway you or get you to believe like I believe. But sometimes it's uncomfortable being a Christian. That's just kind of what it is. Okay, this is, make sure this is sharing correctly. It is, cool. Again, I went to fully secular information here. I'm not doing any like end time stuff. None of this is like Basil or Gons or Skiba or anything like that. Hey guys on TikTok, if you guys want to come over to YouTube, we're doing a screen share. Click on the bio, click on Linktree, come on over, please. We have a screen share there. Or you can just hear me talk and maybe see the reflection in my eyes. This is a publication called Gonzo Days Today, Music, Culture, Politics, and it's raw, so you can trust it. The occult in your living room. It's only a few days before Christmas. Many of us are running around like fiends trying to get last-minute Christmas shopping done or trying not to be killed on the way to the grocery store by the Christmas shoppers who tend to drive like savages, crazed on nutmeg and driven mad by sleep deprivation and screaming children. We'll get into the philosophy of that a little bit later. We've got our trees. We decorated our trees. We're all good consumers. We did good. Pile of presents under the tree, burning our Yule logs, hanging a wreath on the door, in what we consider to be a celebration of the birth of the Son of God. We will eat feasts, sing jingle bells and songs about flying reindeer and magical sleighs. As you research this, you're like, wow, what do flying reindeers and Santa Claus and all this stuff have to do with Jesus, right? But why? Let me explain. The origins of the winter solstice holy days and festivals have been heavily debated by historians and scholars for thousands of years. Although most contemporary and classic scholars tend to agree that most of its traditions and rituals originate in Sumeria, also known as everybody's favorite, say it with me, ancient Babylon. Yeah. So you're going to, when you do this research, you're going to find out that surprisingly, this is a Babylonian deal. And if you know Revelation, it says it talks about the mystery Babylon, right? Mystery Babylon, this mystery religion. What would you consider a mystery religion? How about a religion that you're doing and you didn't know it, right? That's pretty mystery. That's kind of hidden, right? Like, let me say that again. What is a mystery religion? Well, it's got multiple meanings, but by and large part, it's so mysterious that people are doing it, Christians, and they don't even know it because it's a mystery, right? And this is how symbolism works. People give me a hard time about my Apple video and my Volkswagen video. Didn't you read the thing, Steve Jobs? Whenever the apple was a fig. Like, no, you don't understand symbolism. Symbolism is the elites putting out a piece of information that has one meaning for the masses, another meaning for the hierarchy, and a third meaning for the absolute Luciferians, right? You got the Muggles, you've got the atheist deists, and you've got the Luciferians, and there's a meaning for all three of them. And for those who have eyes to see, they see what's going on. It's Babylon, and it's gonna go deeper and deeper and deeper. So as I go through this, I'm gonna keep saying, I love you guys very much. If you do this, and I want you to feel convicted. I want you to understand your parents did it. Maybe your parents now. What are we gonna do, right? Going forward, let's have a discussion about it. For those of you guys asking, I'm over on YouTube. Click on the bio link tree and YouTube. We're doing a screen share over there. Okay, back to the hard hitting information over here. Okay, the origins of the winter solstice, Sumeria, also known as Babylon. In Babylonian tradition, the winter solstice was used to represent the death and rebirth of the sun god Nimrod. Oh, so winter solstice is about the sun being born. Okay, that makes sense. Why does that make sense? Because it's the shortest day of the year. So the sun this is it. It's gone. It's dead and gone. And then the next day, it's coming back stronger than ever. That's this. It's Sol Invictus. There's Saturnalia. There's Ash. There's all kind of different things baked in here, which we'll get into why that is in a minute. But just to keep going, whose death and rebirth were symbolized through the astronomical event of the winter solstice. The winter solstice currently begins on the eve of December 21st. Traditionally, this reversal of the angle of the axis completes on the eve of the 24th, 25th. The sun again begins its ascent to the highest point. Winter solstice is the shortest day, longest night of the year. The longest. We celebrate Jesus' birth on the day, the 24-hour period with the least amount of light, because we're an upside-down clown town. The symbolic reference and theme of the death of the sun, the source of our life, during which time darkness is greatest, and subsequent rebirth or rising from the dead, has become central to all of the major and minor cultures and their traditions from ancient times until now. Although the Babylonians are generally credited with most winter solstice traditions and rituals, other theorists have pointed out monolithic structures such as the stone hinges, and other monolithic structures, including Stonehenge and Newgrange, date back 10,000 years or more, predating Babylon, which accurately measured and marked the winter solstice, stating that even that blah, blah, blah. Okay. Next point, and this one's really important. I got to teach you the real history of the world here, and as quickly as I can. I've been debating so many atheists. I get that this is hypocritical to say. It's entirely possible I'm wrong, but if I'm right, this is how this has happened. God made Adam and Eve. Adam and Eve had children. They started populating the earth. And very quickly, after some fallen angel activity and the hybridization program known as the Nephilim, the world system started unifying in a one world government that stood against God of the Bible. Thank you. Let me say that again. The world quickly started to assimilate into a one world government that was united in opposition of God of the Bible. Okay? So when this article says it predates Babylon, yes, this does predate Babylon. This predates Babylon because Babylon was a rehashing of the religion of the antediluvian society. Okay? So they started doing this. God's like, really? Now that turned fast. Reset. Beep, flood. Flood over. They come back up. Cush has Nimrod. Nimrod's like, hey, we're getting the band back together. Let's do it. And they started doing it again. This is why everybody who's like fired up about a revolution, forget about it. Because if this is going to happen. This is the human story, and it just happens over and over and over. It doesn't matter how many times you wipe it out; it's going to keep happening, as long as we're in this fallen universe, anyways, fallen Earth at least. Okay, so what happens is Nimrod begins to become a Gibhorim. He begins to become a Nephilim through some sort of science, right? AI, Elon Musk, Neuralink, upgrade, transhumanism, whatever. Maybe Babylonian sex magic, like who knows what he was doing, but he started to become like the people from before the flood. And guess what he did? Started using technology, uniting the world in opposition of God of the Bible. Again, shocker, right? So this time he's building a tower. Ooh, we're going to build a tower. Everybody's going to go up there. And we're going to go up on this tower and go get to God and kill God. That was Nimrod's goal, was to kill God. And God's like, well, that flood thing, that was heavy. I'm not going to flood them this time. I'm going to confound the languages, right? He breaks down the tower, confounds their languages. Nobody dies, maybe some people, whatever. And they go out into the world. And guess what they do? They start telling the same story over and over and over and over again, just like they always do. Nimrod, who was God in their eyes, and his wife, Nimrod and Semiramis. They become Frigga and Odin. They become Isis and Osiris. All of these pagan traditions, and why they all sync up and they all do the same thing for winter. They do the same stuff in the spring. They are practicing this antediluvian religious system, this Luciferian fallen angel religious system that they rehashed at Babel. And then after Babel, they went into the world and told everybody the thing that they believe. And through the phone game, it slightly changed, right? Names, places, trees become obelisks. All these things kind of change, right? But it's the same overarching religious system. And I wrote it down as to what this religious system is. You ready? The religious system is based on sex, nature, like worshiping the earth, and fallen angels / Lucifer as God. This is the system. This is what they believe. And this is what Christmas is about, unfortunately, and Easter and all of them. It all ends up being the same thing. It's the same story over and over and over again. And we're going to start to see the themes, right? Phallus, womb, sex, worshiping the gods, worshiping the earth, nature. It's going to be the same thing here. Somebody says they're lost. Yeah, if you guys want to come over to YouTube, we're doing a screen share over there. The link's in the bio. Yep. Okay. So where were we at with this? We were talking about, okay, they mentioned that this religious system predates Babylon. Look at how crazy. This is totally secular, you guys. This is the thing when I do this research. I don't go to a Christian site and do the Christian. I mean, I know I showed Michael Heiser, but finding stellarium information about Jesus being born in 9/11 isn't super readily available. So forgive me there, but he's a trustworthy source. Brilliant man. And actually esteemed intellectually in academia. So they have this religious system that predates Babylon, and then the first time we see it in the post-flood reality is back in Babylon, and it originates back to Babylon. So this is why it's a pagan system. This is why it's December 25th, because it's the winter solstice celebration. And people will go, like I watched Mike Winger talk about it, and he was talking about how, it's not Sumerian, it's Norse, and you can make a case for that a lot of the stuff originates in Northern Europe. But if you really trace back what they believe, it's actually the same thing going all the way back to Babylon, right? Here we go. Next crazy little piece of information here. So with Christmas, we have December 25th. I think I've made a point, maybe not, that the reason they do it on December 25th isn't because it was Jesus' birthday. Jesus was probably born on 9/11. They do it on December 25th because it's actually a winter solstice celebration. The winter solstice celebration is a pagan celebration that has been observed since Babylon and before Babylon, right? So that's where we're at. So let's look at some of the things that we do as a part of the Christmas celebration. Let's look at the tree. The tree's fun, right? I actually found, I don't think I sent it to myself. Let me see if I did really quick. There's my Googles. What is Christmas? I might have gotten rid of that Google page. Yeah, okay, I won't do it. But I found a Christmas Christian site that said that the tree represents the birth and resurrection of Jesus Christ. Does anybody believe that? Can you make a connection? You're like, oh, look at the Christmas tree. When I see Christmas tree, I think Jesus born of a virgin, dying on a cross, resurrected from the dead. That's what I mean. When I see tree, that's what I see. These are all the witch things. This is a witch page talking about Holly and what she does for solstice. She lights her fires. She loves this time of the year. Let's see here. She says, Holly can be brought into the home. Most species are high in caffeine. Cup of Joe. The Druids held the holly tree as especially sacred, advising people to bring the plant into their homes as it was considered a good omen. As an evergreen, it symbolized the tenacity of life and the bringer of light, even when surrounded by death. Traditionally, the holly tree was considered protective against harmful energies, respiratory diseases, angry fairies. So it sounds like it would really be good against COVID. There's COVID for you. Thunder and lightning. Lightning because the tiny spikes in the leaves supposedly act like miniature lightning conductors, giving the tree immunity. Gifts of holly were given to the ancient winter solstice rituals. This guy's, he's classy. This is super, like, that's Christian. That to me, that represents John the Baptist, right? That looks like John the Baptist with the candle antlers. The Oak King would battle the Sun God, or the Holly King, the Lord of Darkness, because he ruled the darker half of the year, who ruled between the summer solstice and winter solstice, while the Oak King ruled between the winter to summer, each of the kings ruling half of the year. These rituals had such power to the commoners of Europe that when Constantine forced the people to convert to the new religion we call Christianity, she's super high on Christianity, he recognized how essential these rituals were to the people, so he created new names and meanings to every ancient pagan holiday, so to permit the people to continue celebrating their ancient rituals, blanketed with a new Christian meaning. Return of the Sun really means return of the sun. She draws a bath, Holly to her bath, to get out her residual resentments. She does a bunch of other witchy stuff. Blah, blah, blah. Happy solstice and Merry Yule. Seraphina, the super Christian. Same thing. How to celebrate winter solstice. Build a Yule altar. That's Christian. Yule altar. Evergreen Yule wreath. Burn a Yule log. We'll get into that a little bit later. Decorate a Yule tree. Yada, yada, yada. That goes on and on. Okay. What does the maypole have to do with a Christmas tree? Make sure I've got this shared correctly. I think I do. I've had this discussion before. Liz, you come to mind. Obviously, you've seen this before. Here's all these nice young ladies, and they're wrapping the maypole up with ribbons. That's cool, right? Happy May. Wee, maypole. Every year, you celebrate the first day of May by watching the dancers weave ribbons. Tradition spans multiple regions with historical evidence, tracing it to Rome, Western Europe, Latin America, and Africa, whatever, Babylon, right? This is it. It goes into Babylon. People just do this stuff because of Babylon. Historians disagree where and when it first introduced. I will tell you, probably it was introduced either before the flood or shortly after by Nimrod and co. There is ample proof that it links back to pagan rituals in Germany around the 13th century. That Norse tradition is entirely Babylonian. Over time, the tradition likely spread and served either as a celebration of spring or fertility for the season to come. What better way to celebrate the changing season and the good fortune it would bring by dancing, singing, feasting, worshiping the earth, basically. Originally, the maypole was a living tree. Over time, it usually became a tree trunk of the correct height, age, and type, usually pine or birch. Some say the tree represented masculine energy, and the ribbons and floral gardens that adorned it represented feminine energy. Those ribbon weaving dancers are either pairs of boys and girls, with girls taking one color of ribbons and the boys the other, or a group of multiple ages where younger dancers take the inside of the circle and older dancers the outside. Either way, the maypole itself is a splendid reminder. My brother and I first found out about the real occult pagan stuff when the pastor of the church up in the mountain town we grew up in, who was super tied into this stuff, did an Easter ceremony. It was all about birth and like whatever, the new harvest and all this kind of stuff. Okay. Did I go too far? Okay. I'm going to do one more point on the maypole and the sexual energy tied into this thing, and the tree and the phallus and where this goes. Though the origin of the practice of wrapping a tall pole in ribbon and woven tree branches is difficult to pin on a specific time and place, they agree it's in UK and Ireland and blah, blah, blah. The maypole dance was almost definitely a fertility rite meant to symbolize the union of the masculine and feminine. Is there another way to represent the union of masculine and feminine? Which is a major theme in the May Day celebrations that we have the children do, because this is like, whatever, have the children do it, whatever. The pole is made from a young tree, cut down when its trunk reached the proper height for performing its duties as a maypole. Again, this is bustle. This isn't, none of this, this is all very secular information. The pole, as you may have guessed, why would one guess this? Because of the obvious shape and implication, is the masculine part of the equation for this springtime tradition. Then, during the festivities, villagers would dance around the pole, weaving through each other while wrapping the maypole in ribbon and foliage. These would be the feminine qualities, in the hopes of bringing fertility to the livestock. Maypole dances have been viewed as scandalous at various points, described as like wicked, we can't do that, and they got rid of it. Okay. Why do I show you the maypole and the wrapping the pole? It's what we do with the Christmas tree. The maypole was a tree, is a tree. They went to a pole. Easier to do than to cut a tree down every week or year or whatever. Why take the children and wrap it up? We just saw what that represents, right? The melding of masculine and feminine sexual energy. Pretty obvious what that is. And if you think of a Christmas tree, also a phallus, also with, you wrap ribbon and all the lights and all that stuff around it. It's the same idea. It represents the maypole. And we could quickly get into which phallus the tree represents, but I'll take a kind of comedic interlude. I don't know if anybody disagrees with me on the tree being a phallus thing, but I came across this today and it made me, gave me quite the giggle. Feminists want phallic Christmas trees banned. This is not satire. Feminist groups are urging the banning of all Christmas trees, usually used in the Christmas season and decorated, to be banned as they represent a fertile phallus as conducted in pagan ceremonies thousands of years ago and later adopted by Christians. The decoration of the Christmas tree is a celebration of male fertility, and the Christmas tree represents an erect phallus being decorated. This sort of patriarchal nonsense is against women and feminism. We therefore decree we want all Christmas trees to be banned as they are disgusting representations of men and their supreme phallus. This is gross male domination, pure and simple. Angela Furker, representative of the feminist supremacy movement, or whatever that is. Google which panders extreme feminist agenda. Currently running information adverts on YouTube how Christmas trees are an evil thing. They should be shredded. Missy Argina, a feminine spokesperson for another group, was outraged that her local supermarket had a Christmas tree in its entrance where thousands of people see it every day. You've got this big thing, this phallus. It is erect. It nearly reaches the ceiling. Winning. And it is an affront to all that is feminist. Why not have a decorated vagina instead? Which they do. That's the wreath. But anyways, obviously it's like a subplot to the tree. The tree is the big deal in this patriarchal society. You see how the patriarchy has infected every part of our society. All men are scum. All Christmas trees should be burned. and thrown into piles of smoldering garbage. I don't disagree with her about that last line. The obelisk, which is now seen on many Christian churches and considered to be Christian in nature, was anything but Christian at their historical roots. In Old Testament times, the obelisk was shown to be the center of the Egyptian sun worship. The Christmas tree is an example of a pagan phallic symbol, which once represented fertility worship, now brought into Christian home for reasons the people themselves don't understand. They're making fun of you, Christians. This is like they think you're they think you're a joke. They think your religion is a joke. They think your sky daddy's a joke. They think your Bible's a joke, and they think it's funny that you have this phallus object in your church and in your house, and that the feminists are like, get this thing out of here, and Christians are like, put it. I'll take it. I'll take it. Just we'll take the kids and we'll all hang out around the tree. Oh, Christmas tree. All right. In the Babylon mystery religion, the true meaning of the obelisk is shown to be association with sun worship. The ancients rejected the knowledge of the creator of heaven and earth and placed their confidence in the sun because they believed the sun gave life to the plants, and the phallus became the symbol of life. Okay. It's a lot of information, and I apologize. I'm sorry and thank you, right? Okay. Is there any kind of link? Is it possible as a conspiracy theorist? Uh-oh. Uh-oh. It's you? Let's look here. I'm like, I have PTSD. Oh, looks like I have it. That was her. False alarm. Thank you for paying attention, though, Mom. Okay. For those of you guys that don't know, I live in my mom's basement, and that's my mom I'm talking to. Meatloaf! Mom! Okay, where was I going? We talked about 9/11. Jesus was born in 9/11. Just let that soak in for a minute. Jesus, by the not by some historical idea, not just by like, oh yeah, well, the document says, like by the stars, by the fact that they can map and trace all of the stars and the way they move and have moved, and they can date it back to one time in history. That actually was repeated in 2017. I know there was a version of it, the Revelation 12 thing, but they can go back to an 80-minute span that the king saw, that everybody knew was about nobility, the king being born, and 9/11 3 BC. So 9/11 3 BC is Jesus' actual birthday potentially. And instead of us celebrating his birth on that day, which you could argue whether or not you're supposed to celebrate his birth because there's nothing in the Bible about that, we have the worst terrorist act in the history of America, one of them in the world, and the history of the world is like the most synonymous with terror. That's the day that was Jesus' birthday. And then the day that's the darkest day of the year with the least amount of sunlight, which is a clear, blatant pagan, which is Babylonian and antediluvian in its roots, celebration involved with phalluses and all kind of other weird magic energy, magic of Christmas, right? And we haven't even gotten into Santa Claus yet. That's the day that we're able to go be good consumers and whatever, partake in Christmas hams and that kind of thing. So the tree, I'm making the declaration that the Christmas tree is not to be trusted and that you need to do some soul searching. And if, like other people have said, they can see Jesus in it, apparently Martin Luther said that he was looking through the trees and he saw the stars and it reminded him how Jesus came to the earth, and he came inside and decorated a tree. That's what Winger said happened. So there's those kind of stories. Whatever. Do your research, and if that's what you think it is, that's what you think it is. But in the Bible, it says that my people die for lack of wisdom, lack of knowledge, lack of knowing. Right? Know this. Now you know this. Now you know this. This here is a Christmas tree. This is why I do this show, because I have this kind of information. This is a Christmas tree with a 5-pointed star, which always represents Venus, and Venus represents the morning star, which represents Lucifer. This is a Christmas tree in the Rockefeller Center in New York City. I've been on the top of the rock. I thought this was an amazing building. Saturday Night Live was filmed there. I went to New York before I was really understanding how dark it was. And I was like, this is a cool building. I snuck around all the different big halls and stuff. Like, cool building. And then I started, I realized it was Rockefeller. And then I found this guy. And I think A10 can confirm that we were there in 2008. And we were either we knew for sure or whatever. But by the time we left there, we understood who this golden, let me tell you something. The Bible isn't God doesn't say make golden statues of anything human, animal, created. I don't think you're supposed to even make a golden statue of him. Like when they made the Ark of the Covenant, I think that's the only golden thing that was kosher. Maybe some like a trumpet or something. But anyways, don't have a golden man idol. That's a bad thing. Golden man idol is bad. This golden man idol represents Prometheus. Okay. Prometheus represents Lucifer. Prometheus is the story of the god who brought fire down to the earth. And this really pissed off the main god. I forget who, whatever, main god, Odin, or no, I remember who it is, whatever. I'm not great at that. Who is his god? Zeus. That sounds right. Zeus. So he pissed Zeus off because he brought fire to man, and then he got punished for it, right? Lucifer is Prometheus. Lucifer, the light bearer, the torch that the Statue of Liberty is holding is the light of Lucifer, illuminated, illumination, Illuminati. It's the light of Lucifer. That's Lucifer. That golden jerkwad is Lucifer. Okay. It's funny that History Channel was made by Prometheus Entertainment. And it's also funny that the movie Prometheus was talking about our alien creators, right? Which is all fallen angel rehash of the Nephilim operation. Well, anyways, here's your golden idol with a Christmas tree on top of it. It's like he's like holding it in his hand at the Rockefeller Center. This is bad. This whole thing's bad over here. People fight me on this, which is fine. It could mean artificing idols, but hear ye the word of the Lord that speaketh unto you. Thus saith the Lord, learn not the way of the heathen, the pagans, and be not dismayed at the signs of heaven. For the heathen are dismayed at them. Oh my gosh. For the customs of the people are vain. They cut a tree out of the forest, the work of the hands of the workman with the axe. They deck it with silver and with gold. They fasten it with nails and with hammers that it moves not. They're upright as a palm tree, but speak not, so don't worship them. So you can make an argument here in all transparency that it's talking about cutting a tree out and fashioning it into an idol and painting it and sticking it on a stand. But it's also close enough to me on a Christmas tree, in the Christmas tree vein, that we don't have a Christmas tree. First year was a little bit weird. Second year it was a relief. And I don't plan to ever look back. So that's us. So Rockefeller and the Christmas tree. Do you guys remember Macy's? I didn't do a ton of research on this, but I just made a note about it. Do you remember Miracle on 32nd Street with Santa Claus? And it was like this magic of Christmas, and like Santa like worked at Macy's or something and bought everybody a purse. I don't remember really exactly the plot line, but it was something like that. He showed up in him and his reindeers, riding his reindeers, and saved the day or whatever. Oh. That was Macy's. Macy's is also a 5-pointed star. Macy and Rockefeller were big buddies. They were super into consumerism. So there's another part of this too, where it's like, okay, cool. Yeah. It's super pagan, super winter solstice, whatever, deal with that. And then there's like the consumer, like if you're an atheist and you're listening to this and you're like, this guy in the stupid fairy tale books, I hate him, but I'm listening for whatever reason. The consumerist part of this and breeding consumerism. Think of the stress of Christmas. You got to buy everybody these things and do this thing. You got to be here, and everybody's debt goes way off the charts, and you got to buy all these gifts, and like nobody remembers what they bought last year. And it's like, how much do I spend? And really stressful, right? I can tell you personally, when we bailed on it, like it's been less stressful for us. We're not Torah observant. We're not perfect people. We just decided this was like an easy one for us. Like, we're not going to do that. Then now we have a son, and we still get him a gift. Him and I plan to play this Mario game that I got him. For the record, it's Super Mario Sunshine for Nintendo GameCube, because that's where he's at in his video game development. We're not doing, Fortnite or whatever. He gets to play a Super Nintendo, which I didn't even get when I was that age. But anyways, we're going to play that game all day because we want him to have special like feelings about it. We want him to not like be super upset about it, but we're also not going to play with reindeer games. We're not going to do that. That's just not what we're going to do. Anyways, that's us. But I want to talk about Santa and wrap up on Santa. As a parent, trying to enforce in your children that if they're well behaved, they get electronics is poor parenting. Sorry, I came across more judgy than I wanted it to. We have to do better, right? We have to do better. And another thing is lying to your children is also a bad idea. That's bad parenting. It's bad parenting. You need to try to be as straightforward with them as they can handle and being fair with them, because they're obviously precious little minds. They don't need to know everything, but just an outward lie, maybe not a great idea, right? So, I mean, we've all done it. We've all made mistakes. A lot of people they've already had their children and they're already past it. And a lot of people are also probably mad at me right now, but this is kind of a thought experiment. Okay. The idea of Santa is that he's this omniscient. He knows when you're sleeping. He knows when you're awake. He knows when you've been bad or good. So be good for goodness sake. Better not shout. Better not, right? That whole thing is kind of crappy parenting, right? Hey, are you being a bad kid? If you want to get that fire truck, Johnny, stop it because Santa's watching you. Can you see the problem? Do I even have to go into this? That's not good parenting. And the scary thing is when you lie to your child and you tell them that Santa's watching you and your child believes that there's an omniscient character in the sky watching you and he's going to reward you. He's omnipresent, omniscient. He's this God figure, the God of consumer gifts. Guess what happens when they find out that Santa isn't real, right? They're brokenhearted. People go through that. I never believed in Santa particularly. It didn't make sense to me. And this is what I said earlier. Like I'm a contrarian. I understand that I don't think like a lot of people. And so this is why I tell you this and you go take it somewhere. I'm not going to tell you what to do. Actually, I'm telling you not to tell your kids about Santa Claus. That's the one thing I'm going to tell you not to do. That's the one thing I'd agree. I think that one's pretty low hanging fruit. But anyways, the child has to reconcile this information. There's no I believed he was watching me. I was like legitimately, like there was times where I was like, I'm not going to do that because Santa's watching me. And that wasn't true. I always thought it was weird. He'd fly around the whole world at night and come through my chimney. I don't even have a chimney. That was one of my problems. Like I asked my mom, like, where does Santa come through? And she was like, I don't know, like the vent pipe or something. And I was like, you're lying. This could have a negative effect on their potentiality, their potential relationship with God. Okay. Because of trauma and confirmation bias and how the brain works, threat, non-threat. I assure you there's some people who associate the lie of Santa with the lie of God. Daily Mail person, if you're on there on TikTok, I'll come over afterwards and I'll address that. Maybe. Come over to YouTube though. Please. Okay, so it's something to think about, right? Food for thought. Why are we doing this? We're compelled to. It's a tradition. Our parents did it. Our parents did it. I don't want to be weird. Can't have my kid be weird, right? Conformity, yada yada yada. Just like the Ash conformity experiment explains very well. I got to do it. And I would encourage you that if you can give your child a healthy home and a healthy environment and shower them in love and those kind of things, you'll probably have a healthy child anyways. But that's a side note. But I think it's something you need to really think about. Like I would ask you to take that to God, the Santa thing, right? And then we'll make it fun again because it's heavy, and then I try and bring it out a little bit. But here's something that you may or may not have thought about. You may put validity to this, you may not. But when you study numerology and when you study the occult, you find out things like anagrams, and this is an occult site. Let's see. One's called an alchemy of wit. An anagram is defined as the forming of a new phrase or word by transposing the same letters from another phrase or word. All letters must be used and none are to be added in order to be considered a true anagram. Today's anagrams are thought of as fun and entertaining word games. They appear as scrambled word exercises. Let's see here. Professional. Oh, here we go. Whole paragraphs can be changed to provide entirely different meaning or add depth to the initial one. A professional anagrammist, which I didn't know was a thing. If I only would have known, I would have pursued it. Strives to form a connection with the newly ordered letters from the initial letters. Kabbalists were widely known to have applied anagrams. Kabbalist is Jewish mysticism. This is a very occult thing, comes from Solomon and the rings, and there's a whole thing. I can do another story on that. I'm not going to get into too much, but there's good things in Kabbalism, and there's some scary stuff too. But anyways, they were known widely to have applied anagrams to people's names, called Themuru, very similar to Thylema, because it's not that far away. I'm sure it's a cousin of it. Implying change, the rearranging of letters in a name was believed to unveil hidden meanings and the spiritual natures correlating to that person. He is also thought to have used anagrams to discover a person's deity. It's a fun little game. Any idea what Santa's anagram name is? It's a tough one. It's Satan. Satan. Remember Church Lady? Okay, whatever. I get Santa, Santa Maria. It's the idea would be Saint Nick. Well, let's look at Saint Nick. Ooh, look at it. Might as well. We're diving. Nicholas, family history. See, the name in various vernacular forms was popular among Christians throughout Europe. Let's see here. Found as Americanized version form. Where is it? I thought it was in there. Anyways, it means to conquer, basically. I don't know. I guess I have the wrong one up here, but it means to conquer. And there's an interesting connection between Nicholas and Nimrod. Some people think it's absolutely the name. I don't know if it is or not. Nicholas actually has to do with Nike, which is where the Nike symbol comes from, the winged god of victory, which is why Nike used it. So it's possible that Saint Nick or Santa is Satan Nimrod. So that's a reach. Not saying that's happening, but if it is, that's certainly another strike against old Santa. Okay. So I guess in short, I'll try and wrap it up here. I loved Christmas when I was a child. We didn't have a lot of money. I got a couple really cool gifts. It felt magical. There's some magic to it for sure. I don't think the Bible's keen on magic, but whatever. Doesn't mean you don't feel something. Again, we philosophically are trying to create an experience that our son doesn't loathe. I talked to very close friends of mine that were raised Jehovah's Witness, and I get that. I don't think there's an easy answer, right? I don't particularly like the idea of tomorrow you guys say this loon on the internet told me Christmas is bad and Santa is Satan Nimrod, and I'm out. It's probably not a good way to go about it. There's got to be some grace there. And Scripture talks about, what you're supposed to do with meat sacrificed to idols. Again, I would just encourage you to take this to God. There's a ton more information. We did an hour here. I could do 2 more hours. I might even do another show on Thursday and get even a little bit darker. But here's what we know. We know that Jesus wasn't born on December 25th. We know it's a pagan system. We know it's a winter solstice celebration. We know it's the trees of phallus. We know that Satan isn't a great idea and maybe has really nefarious roots. You could look at Krampus. You could look at, there's a lot of things there. And how did this happen? Because the world system is ran by Lucifer. It's what Jesus dealt with when he was on the earth. Satan came to him and said, "Hey, work for me and you can run the world system." And he's like, "Get thee behind me, Satan." And he didn't do it. But the people on the earth want to have money and power, and so they take that deal. And they hate God. And I think it's about the heart. And I think there's a lot of people that really either tell themselves this is really about Jesus, or, they have a relationship with God in their heart about it. So, if you really think you want to venerate Jesus for his birthday, if you have like a connection to that, maybe think about holding a happy birthday 9/11 party for Jesus. I think that'll be popular for the community. People will probably really see where you're coming from with that. I was trying to say that with a straight face. Yeah, totally. Wait. So you're not doing Christmas, Satan's the devil, and you gave Jesus a birthday party on 9/11. Certified, right? Whatever. It's heavy. It's heavy. Something that a friend of mine said is, people are like, yeah, I'm worshiping Jesus, and it's Jesus' birthday, and we're doing it on like the high occult day of the year or whatever. Like, is there a part there that's like, yeah, my wife that I'm in love with, I love you. I'm gonna celebrate your birthday on my ex's. But that's cool, right? I mean, like, we've been doing it for a long time. Long time. It's just a day. Still, I'm like birthday gifts and stuff. It's just on her birthday. I don't know. So take it to God. I know that's going to sound super condemning by me, and I apologize, but I'm pretty serious about this. I've studied the occult and the Luciferian system, and they're lying. They're lying to you, and they want you to be miserable, and they want you to be at odds with God, and they want you to be sick and in debt and a slave to consumerism and whatever. I mean, you go on and on and on and on, but a big part of it is to offend God and like hurt God, and make you miserable. And the Bible says my people die for lack of knowledge. So at least in this case, you have that knowledge now, and you can do what you want with it. Pray about it. I love you either way. I'm not judging you. So you're welcome. And I'm sorry. Okay. Let me check a couple messages here. Wow, I'm so far down on chat, you guys. Sorry. Just so you guys understand, I think you know this, but the format that we're going to do with Voice of Reasons for the near future, next maybe 6 weeks at least, we're going to do the live show on YouTube Tuesday, Thursday only. I was doing it 4 days a week. We don't want to oversaturate it. We want to make sure we're using the resources correctly. So YouTube will be Tuesday, Thursday, and it'll be much more like this. If you're on TikTok, we encourage you to come over to YouTube. It's going to be a screen share. It's more in the vein of a lecture, right? TikTok is going to be a back and forth and having a good discussion and interaction, really interactive based questions, answering, that kind of thing. YouTube, I just can't share things on TikTok, and I can on here as long as my microphone or whatever is working. But I'm going to try and teach something on Tuesdays and Thursdays that's relevant, that maybe at some point you could even show to someone. We're going to do more apologetic stuff down the road. We're going to do the Exodus Trail and a lot of biblical archaeology. We're going to get more into the science of creation. We're going to do more conspiracy. The whole thing, it's philosophy, theology, conspiracy. So this should be about an hour. Should be more of a lecture. Like if you were in a lecture hall, you wouldn't necessarily reciprocate till the end, and then you would have question and answers. That's what TikTok's going to be like. That's what YouTube's going to be like. I get a lot of feedback that's like, we like TikTok because we can interact. So the answer to that is, after we do the lecture, the thing that we can get out that people can share, we can put it in the database of content. Then we go to TikTok and we have the after party. So that's where we're going to go next. So anybody that has questions, sorry that I didn't get to them. I'm going to wrap up this broadcast here on YouTube, and then we're going to switch over to TikTok for the after party. If you guys are on TikTok, just hang tight. And yeah, I'll get some feedback over there. See how you guys are feeling about this. Hopefully you guys aren't like super mad at me. All right, guys. Love you. Thank you. End transmission.
Every time I think of you, I feel shot right through with a bolt of blue. It's no problem of mine, it's a problem I find. Living a life that I can't leave behind. There's no sense in telling me the wisdom of a fool won't set you free. That's the way that it goes, it's what nobody knows. don't think you're what you seem. I admit to myself, if I hurt someone else, I'll never see just what will